This story that Peter King, when he counted the words, 6,900 words dedicated to Tim Tebow's first day, 7-on-7 OTAs. Hakeem Nicks, the #1 receiver for the Super Bowl champions, goes down with a foot injury that's going to keep him down for months. 2,000 words. So all I said was it's a testament to what I've been saying. Everything is about Tim Tebow. Everything is about, oh, Lord, here he comes. And ultimately, the fix is in. This is just the latest proof.
So you're saying he's going to be the starting quarterback for this team no matter what?
Eventually. Is it the fix is in?
How would that happen?
Because Sanchez won't be great. He's not going to be awful, but he won't be great. And because the pressure will be on the New York Jets organization to give him a shot to be in that position, and they're going to cave.
Yes, the Jets like attention. Okay, they try to steal that back page. They want their team talked about, but the fix is not in.
Okay,
the fix is not in. Mark Sanchez is still the quarterback of this team, and Tim Tebow is going to be in that role that they project him to be. Tim Tebow will be the starter if Mark Sanchez doesn't play well. But if they don't play well, Tim Tebow will be playing for a 1-4 or a 2-6 team because they failed so miserably to get him to be the starting quarterback.
No, that is correct.
If Tim Tebow is the starting quarterback, they'll be last place in this division.
Wow. So
because
he will take over at 1-4, which is my prediction.
At that point, they will be last place in this division. They would have to be 2-4, 3-6. Then here comes Tim.
So it's got to be really bad for the Jets for him to get on the field as a starter.
Just for the record, you are a Jets-hating former Patriot. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Wow. Want to get that out there. Thank you very much.
Say hate's a strong word, but okay.
That's what I wanted to hear.
You drink the water.
Okay, I respect that. Although you got it half right. Tim Tebow will take over at 1-4, just as he did for Kyle Orton in Denver last year. At which point they will turn it around and make the playoffs.
You did not predict that the Jets would start off at 1-4.
I did too.
You did no such thing.
I did too.
Go ahead.
I said it would be deja vu for you.
This is not the AFC West.
Okay.
That they are in.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Right. No, it's a much better team with a much better defense.
Once Tim Tebow comes in,
and a much more difficult schedule.
But in Denver,
division, and the Patriots or maybe the Bills may be ahead of this team.
In Denver, Tebow had to carry the 20th ranked defense to that 7 out of 8. But now back to you, my friend, Mr. Smith. Do you realize that day after day on this show, Stephen A. Smith walks into our pre-show meeting and says, we have got to talk about this Tebow. We've got to, because you're obsessed with him. You're the one who's driving the bus here. You're driving the bandwagon. It's true. You had to talk about this because he has become the most captivating figure in sports. Love him, hate him, disrespect him as you often do. You can't get enough of him. No one can get enough of him. I don't blame the New York media at all because it's a big, great story. By your own admission, you say he will replace Mark Sanchez. That's a story. So when OTAs start, you got to get out there and cover the heck out of that story. And Hakeem Nicks broke his foot. If I'm doing the math right, and we don't know this for a fact, but it sounds like he could be back mid-training camp or at least at the latest.
Case, he's back
for the start of the season. So what's the big deal?
It was the day it happened on the same day.
Yeah, but what's the big deal? It's Tebow's first big day in New York City. Are you kidding me?
Yes,
it's going to be big
day.
Headline.
A backup quarterback who can't throw, who showed up in a private jet, had a press conference.
Who you say is going to be the starting quarterback.
Why?
You say it.
Well, why do I say that? See, you got to understand something there. I said the fix is in because the Jets are just as interested in stealing headlines as they are in winning football games. And I think that everything about the Rex Ryan era has shown just that. So as a result of it, it's not about Mark Sanchez being awful. I don't believe he has to be awful. I believe that Mark Sanchez, who has improved statistically each year, by the way, he completed 56% of his passes last year. I think this is a guy that doesn't even have to have a huge drop-off. I believe they could be 500 and they'll still find an excuse to just put Tim
but how can the fix be in when you're not sold on Mark Sanchez in the first place?
Because what I'm saying to you is that they sit around. We're talking about Tim Tebow here, a person that I don't believe can throw the football. I'm on the record for saying that. I think he's horrible. I think he's the worst passer in the NFL. Okay? All right. With that being said, all I'm saying is he is not worthy of being a starting quarterback in the NFL, the Jets. I've interviewed Rex Ryan. I've interviewed Mike Tannenbaum. They've sat there and said he's here for a different role, a different reason. But I'm telling you, this is the same guys that said to me when I brought up Peyton Manning. I had Rex Ryan. I was interviewing him on ESPN New York, 98.7 FM now. I was interviewing him. And I asked him about Peyton Manning. He was like, we're happy with our quarterback. We don't need Peyton Manning. But then he turned around and went and got Tebow.
Right now, that attention is, to get in the mind of Mark Sanchez, is he mentally strong enough to push it all to the side and leave it alone? Right now, the answer is no. If he can't even get his own house in order, if his own agent is making comments the way he's
true. I agree with that.
If you can't get your own house, your own team, meaning home team, your girlfriend, all right, your brother, your sister, your father, your agent, if you can't get all of them on the same page,
I'm with you.
then all them voices are also coming into your ear. So he has to be mentally tough enough to put all that to the side, and I don't know if he can.
Okay, Stephen A. Smith, as a longtime columnist, if I gave you a choice of writing a column about Tim Tebow's, was it his first day we're talking about? Yeah. His first day at OTAs, going up against Sanchez, his debut in OTAs.
I would have written Tebow. You're right.
You're going to write Tebow.
I would have written Tebow.
Even if I called you.
I would have had no choice because, again, you have to pay attention to what the people want to read about and what they want to hear. And there's no question that more folks want to hear about Tim Tebow than they want to hear about Hakeem Nicks.
Right.
I didn't sit there and lambaste the media for doing that. I understand they were doing their job. I'm just saying it's pretty pathetic because we're talking about a backup quarterback that can't throw.
Yeah. Okay, but unless you wanted to write a column about how the Giants are dead next year because Nicks broke his foot, that's the only column you could write that would be better than the Tebow column. And you're not going to write that because they're not dead, because he's going to come back. And I'll bet he'll be just fine once the season starts. So why did we do this topic in the first place? That's my question.
Right, because if anyone in the New York Jet organization is obsessed with all of this attention like we are right now, they're in trouble.